Happy Workers' Day, everyone, and welcome to Upskill. Just to reintroduce ourselves to you, you know that Upskill is here to support teacher development and to facilitate events like this symposium that helps us to take time out of our busy schedules and reflect on what our classroom practice is. So this morning, we're going to be reflecting on multiple intelligence. Beyond IQ, how do we use multiple intelligence to reach every learner? Because we are not all the same. We don't learn the same, we don't speak the same, we don't behave the same. But I don't want to go into the details of that. Before we start, I'd like to introduce us sitting out here to talk to you. My name is Mojisola Akojiri, and I work for Upskill Educational Initiative. I have with me Prince Adekunle Agbelu, who is the principal of Mind Builders Schools. He's the one that's going to present the entire concept to us this morning to help us to understand what multiple intelligence is all about. And then we'll move directly into classroom experiences when we talk to Mrs. Fumilayo Badenime. She's a teacher with Methodist Girls High School, Yaba. So without going too much into details, I'm going to hand over the leadership of this symposium to Prince Adekunle Agbelu. Welcome again.
Thank you. It's to all our listeners. It's good to have something like this as teachers. We believe that as teachers, we are going through lives, not just that we are molding futures, we are molding nations, and we are molding individuals, and we need to get it right. Looking at what we have to discuss this morning, beyond IQ using multiple intelligences to reach every learner. We believe that as teachers, we have learners in the class that we must be able to get to in order to make sure that we achieve our objective. And we all know that learners don't learn at the same rate. Let me start because I prepared the slide, which I believe will be shared to every one of us that will be listening. Beyond IQ, using multiple intelligences to reach every learner. One of the greatest realities in modern education is that learners are different. Even when students sit in the same classroom, listen to the same teacher, and use the same textbook, they do not learn at the same rate. They do not learn at the same pace. For many years, education system had been measured in terms of intelligence, how people can write, how people can speak. If you're able to speak, if you're able to write, you are termed to be intelligent. But as teachers, we need to look beyond that. The theory of multiple intelligence developed by Howard Gardner has really helped us. And I believe we are going to look at those the work of Howard Gardner to help us when it comes to multiple intelligences. First of all, we are going to ask ourselves, what is intelligence? Everyone will agree with me, our forefathers never went to school, but they were able to achieve a lot. Therefore, do we say because they don't go to school, they are not intelligent? They are intelligent because they did so many things, even without reading books, without being in the four walls of the classrooms. But to us, what do we term to be intelligence? Intelligence is the ability to learn, to understand, to reason, to solve problems, and adapt effectively to different situations. Our ability to use what we have learned, the knowledge we have acquired, to use it positively to affect people, that's what should be termed intelligence. So intelligence, therefore, is not limited to examination performance alone. A child who may not perform exceptionally in written tests may possess outstanding abilities in leadership, in music, in creativity, in practicals, in tasks or interpersonal relationships. So therefore, we now say that to understand multiple intelligences, the theory of multiple intelligences explains that intelligence exceeds several forms, and each learner may possess one or more dominant intelligences. This means that a learner who struggles under one teaching method may perform excellently when taught differently. The implication for teachers is clear. Teaching should not be restricted to one method. I think I was sharing this with someone that I said, in the past, all we just need to do is get to the class, the teacher will talk from morning till the afternoon, and we go. And the teacher is not mindful either what was taught was understood by the learners or not. And I think we still have some people who are still sensitized and they are still following this. But according to what I said, we are looking at what Howard Gardner said about multiple intelligences. He was able to identify 8 types of intelligences. Number 1 is linguistic intelligence, which has to do with language and speaking. The second one is logical, mathematical intelligence, reasoning and calculation. Then we have spatial intelligence as well, according to Howard. We have musical intelligence, we have body kinesthetic intelligence, we have interpersonal intelligence, we have intrapersonal intelligence, and we also have naturalistic intelligence. We are going to look at each of these intelligence one after the other, starting with linguistic intelligence. Linguistic intelligence, or what we call word smart. This refers to sensitivity to spoken and written language. Learners with linguistic intelligence usually enjoy, how do you identify this learner? We are still coming to that. They enjoy speaking confidently. They enjoy reading, ask many questions, write well, tell stories clearly. They speak a lot. I think there was a time I met someone who could speak from morning till night. Ask that person to write it down. There will be a problem. We still have some students like that today that you can ask them to talk. They can talk freely, but ask them to write, there's a problem. Then some students may have problem when it comes to written exams. So at times I ask myself, why is it not possible to test people orally? If I can't write, if I don't have that skill to write, and I know what you are asking me, can't you ask me orally? Some students are like that in the classroom. Ask them any question, they are ready to answer you. Such learners often volunteer to answer questions quickly if you really want to identify such learners. Then, how do you apply this in the classroom where you have learners who are linguistically intelligent? Teachers should, 1, encourage discussion in the class. Assign summaries. You have taught, allow your students to summarize what you have taught. Give them a topic to be discussed in the class. Use questioning techniques as well. Allow oral presentations. By the time you give them things to come and present in the class, a learner who is linguistic intelligent will be able to showcase what he or she has. These learners often perform well when lessons are explained verbally. They listen to you. Once the topic is explained to them well by the teacher, they are not looking at instructional material. Just explain. They will get it because they are linguistically intelligent. Then the second one, which is logical mathematical intelligence, reasoning smart. This type of learners are highly good when it comes to mathematics. They can calculate. It involves the ability to think logically, they detect patterns and solve problems. Such learners enjoy calculations, experiments, reasoning tasks, analysis. Give them things to analyze. They are ready to showcase what they have. How do you discover them? How do you know them? The learners solve problems quickly. You notice their patterns. They notice patterns. They ask why question often. They enjoy calculations, reason step by step. That's how to actually identify them. I said they usually perform strongly in structured tasks. And what do I mean by structured tasks? A structured task is a planned activity given to learners with clear instructions, defined steps, and specific learning objectives designed to guide them while they are doing the work. How do you apply this in a classroom situation as a class teacher? Teachers should use problem-solving tasks, ask analytical questions, introduce experiment. I find most times things that children or learners are involved in stay with them. Present cause and effect relationships. I've seen learners who are not good at speaking. That is, they are not linguistically, they are not intelligent. But give them mathematics. Go and read that question from anywhere. They are ready to solve. You see most of these kind of intelligent learners going for sciences. They want to calculate anything that will not make them to write a laborious essay. Just to calculate, they are always there. Then the next one is spatial intelligence, picture smart. This is the ability to think in images and visualize ideas. Let me just say this. There's hardly anything you discuss with me that I don't visualize. I start seeing pictures. Some students are like that. When you are teaching them, they start imagining it, creating a picture in their minds. Learners in this career respond well to diagrams, charts, maps, visual illustration. What are we saying in essence? We are talking about instructional materials there. If you use this well, a clear diagram or clear pictures for these students, definitely you are going to get to those learners who are picture smart. Then how do you apply this in the classroom? Teachers should use board illustrations, visual demonstrations, concept maps, graphic organizers. A lesson that is difficult verbally may become clearer through diagrams. Then we have bodily kinesthetic intelligence. This type of learners are body smart. This intelligence involves learning through movements and physical activity. I remember one of my teachers when I was in secondary school. I think I shared that with you. Our biology teacher then I was in Form 3. This teacher can teach with every part of his body. His eyes, his face, his hand, without necessarily talking. And I can't forget that teacher. Every of his movements of his body, we recorded. Even when we're in exam room, we can't even remember what we read. We just remember the gesticulation, the movement of his body while teaching, and everything will start coming back. Some learners are like that. And such learners benefit from practical work. You give them role to play, demonstrations, and on engagement. Always engage them in the classroom. If you look at this, it is common to the lower classes, where you have them, the teacher will be dancing in the class, the students will be dancing, just to make sure that that message is passed across to the learners. Teachers include laboratory activities, dramatization, movement-based participation. This is especially used in practical subjects. Do it yourself. There are some students ask them to come and dance. Do you see how active they are? That time, use it to teach. Then let's go to the next one because I don't have much time. Musical intelligence. These type of learners are music smart. This refers to sensitivity to sounds, rhythms, and patterns. Learners with musical intelligence often remember information through sound. Like I said earlier on, nursery school. But at times when I go to a nursery center, I say, I wish I can come back. They sing, they eat, they dance. But the teacher, you always see them singing. You'll be hearing their rhythm. They will be singing, the children are enjoying it. And you see them when they get home. Even when they are doing nothing, the songs will just start coming to them. When they are just playing, you see them singing it. And meanwhile, that is the method the teacher used in teaching them. So they get to, they get this to these learners, and you will just be happy that you're able to teach effectively. Classroom application. Teachers should excuse me. Okay. Teachers should use songs, rhythmic repetition, chants, memory rhymes. Rhymes so common in primary school, so common in nursery school. This method is highly effective in lower and middle classes. Then we go to interpersonal intelligence, people smart. I'll say that we often do this. I've seen teachers do this to learners. There are some learners, they learn more when you give them group work. They learn more when they are working together in the classroom, when they are working with their mates. Probably you give them something to do as group work. These learners, they learn perfectly well in that condition. This is the ability to understand and work effectively with others. Such learners perform well during group work, peer discussion, cooperative tasks that you give them to do. You see how active they will be. Then classroom rehabilitation. Teachers should encourage collaborative learning, peer tutoring, classroom discussion. This is the seventh one. The other one was interpersonal. This one is intrapersonal intelligence, self-smart. We have some learners, they don't learn when you give them group work. They don't like it. They want to work in isolation. They want to be by themselves. They want to read by themselves. They discover themselves by themselves. So you don't need to give them something that will involve everybody, that they work together. This intelligence relates to self-awareness and reflection. These learners prefer personal thinking, quiet work, self-assessment. Probably I fall into this category. If I'm going to read the exam, I can't read in the midst of everybody. I'll rather go to my room quietly, let me read without anybody disturbing me. I can come out after reading to come and do group discussion with others. But I prefer to read alone because any little thing will distract me. So this type of learners, they are easily distracted when you give them group work to do. So learners prefer quiet reflection, work independently, think deeply before answering. When you ask a question in the class, they don't just raise their hand. They think deeply before they can answer it. So how do you apply this as a teacher? You should provide independent tasks, reflective writing, private goal setting. Let them set goal for each of them, each of these students, and definitely will achieve. Then we have the eighth one, naturalistic intelligence, nature smart. This intelligence involves sensitivity to nature and real life environment. You are teaching a learner who is a naturalist, who has naturalistic intelligence. We definitely start picturing or relating it to nature. What can we achieve? You know, when you take such learner for field trip, they learn more. They learn more whatever you taught them in the class. That is when they get it better, when they are on the field. They love observing natural objects. They love environmental examples. So when you are teaching as a teacher, the example or illustrations that you are going to give, make sure that it is related to the environment. And these learners will achieve a lot in that class. How do you apply? Teachers should use real objects, outdoor examples, environmental illustrations. But let me just say this. Why multiple intelligence matter in the classroom? It is possible to have a learner who has more than one intelligence. You can have a learner that has multiple. Linguistic is there. When you talk about someone who is mathematics or mathematically oriented, is there. When you talk about musical, is there. We have them in the classroom. That's not you teach them, go use this, use picture, they will get it. We have them in the classroom and we need to cater for every one of them. A classroom contains learners with varied strength. When teaching relies only on one method, some learners benefit while others will struggle unnecessarily. Using multiple intelligences helps teachers to improve lesson understanding, increase classroom participation, reduce boredom. At times as a teacher, I do ask yourself, why are your students sleeping while you are teaching them? If you stay glued to one method of teaching, they get tired of it. But by the time you apply different methods of teaching to cater for multiple intelligences that you have in your learners you have in your class, definitely your classroom will not be bored. It improves retention. Whatever you teach them, they will retain it in their brains. They can easily recollect or recall at any time or at any given time. It builds confidence. Your students are confident that you are using what they are used to teach them. And I tell you, coming to school, they will not come into school. How to identify different intelligences in a classroom? Through classroom observation. The first and most reliable method is observation. Watch your student. What type of activity excites a learner? How the learner solves a problem? What the learner chooses to do when given freedom? You know, at times there's free time. Ask them to do anything. You are free, it's your free time, do anything. Monitor what they are doing, each of them. It is related to their intelligence. How the learner behave during group work. When you put them in groups and see someone who is not interested in doing anything in that group, know that that learner is an intrapersonal intelligent person. A learner natural preference often reveals intelligence. Through a learner's response, we are still looking at how to identify this. Through learner's responses during lessons. Excuse me. When teaching the same topic, notice who responds best to verbal explanation, diagrams, calculations, movement, music, discussion. These responses include intelligence strength. Practical ways teachers can detect this intelligence. Use varied activities. Give discussion tasks, drawing tasks, practical work, group assignments, independent tasks. If you look at what we are saying now, it has covered all the 8 intelligences identified by Gardner. Different learners will naturally stand out. In conclusion, the role of the teacher is to move from being merely a transmitter of information to becoming a facilitator of learning. The teacher's task is to create entry points through which different learners can connect with knowledge. A successful classroom is not where one method dominates, but where many learners are reached. Every child can learn, but not every child learns in the same way. The theory of multiple intelligences reminds educators that teaching should be broad enough to accommodate learners' differences. A teacher who understands this does not merely teach a subject. Such a teacher reaches minds, shapes character, and unlocks potentials. To reach every learner, we must teach beyond one method and recognize the many ways intelligence expresses itself. Thank you.
I just want to clap because as we were talking, Prince, I was trying to locate myself in all of this you're taking. Don't ask me my answer because I really searched. I won't tell you.
Okay.
But it's nice to know that, and from my own years in the classroom, it reminds me that what I could have done better was involve my learners more in what I was doing, rather than standing in front of the classroom and talking at them. But that's my own experience. And I was also thinking that it is sweet for principal to talk because you are a principal. You are trying to tell us that this is the best way to do things. Don't defend yourself.
No. Before being a principal, I was a classroom teacher.
Okay.
I was a classroom teacher, so I know all this. Seriously speaking, one may not actually know about these intelligences, yes, but we were working towards it. We were trying to reach all our learners. Though we may not know that this is what this learner is good at, this is what that learner is good at, but we are trying our best to make sure that we reach every learner that we have in our classes.
So that means my next question will be to you, because we really would like to hear from the classroom teacher. How is it possible to use these multiple intelligences?
Okay, thank you very much. Well, I would say in learning, there's no impossibility. There's no impossibility in learning. And it depends on how you plan yourself. Though there are some constraints that may try to hinder you from achieving all this. But as a teacher, you must know how to plan yourself. Plan yourself. And planning yourself, starts from your lesson plan. how you plan yourself, how you want to evolve. And I won't deceive you. If you use this method, you will see that teaching is actually fun. Yeah, I want to cite an example. There was a day I was teaching a topic in the class, and I've been trained on using all this multiple intelligence to teach the children. So let me say my first application in the class. So on a good day, I enter the class, I teach, you see yourself struggling. And just like he said, some of these students that learn through visual, maybe through music, through body and all that, they will not get it. You just find out that you are stressing yourself out. So the first time I entered the class, I was just like, I prepared myself and I dish out the topic and I was using, at the point, I wasn't doing the work. It was the students that were doing it. And I was amazed. So all this while, I've been stressing myself out. So just like I said, there's no impossibility. We only need to plan ourselves. Plan yourself, and planning yourself is through your lesson plan. How do you structure your lesson plan? Sometimes we may think of, in all schools, I think they use 40 minutes, and maybe the highest is an hour. So many people think, oh, we cannot achieve this under 40 minutes. It is actually achievable. You can achieve it. But all you need is just to plan yourself.
So thank you very much. And in what you're saying to us, because I would like to connect all these newfangled theories back to our own contextual origins, right? We're Nigerians. This has been propounded by Howard Gardner. I cannot help but draw parallels between how the traditional Nigerian learning systems are structured. Even if you come from a family of goldsmiths or iron smelters, yes, you do the practical work. Yes, they tell you the theory because we learned mostly oral traditions, but they almost always gave the young person who's learning the opportunity to express themselves. And like you say, Prince, that is where you observe where that particular person's intelligence is. So would you say that in learning these new theories, should we as Nigerians dismiss or discard our own contextual understanding of what learning is and what learning should be?
All right. We will not say we should discard the old method. All we are trying to say is trying to get every child at their pace. Let's take, for example, you want to teach plants. You don't just sit in the class and be teaching the children plants. You can easily take them out. Even in traditional learning, I remember when I was growing up, our teachers would ask us, plant corn, plant beans. And what are they trying to do? You being observant. Number one, you are learning through observation. You are learning through so many means because you see the plants grow. From there, you see the changes and all that. And no wonder so many of us, when it comes to things like that, we don't just forget. Why? Even in the tradition method, they are kind of things that they invite, like just like I cited now, you telling students to plant. So when you are teaching plants, you can only take them out. Let them touch it. Let them touch. Let them feel it. Oh, they will know different types of plants. The ones, plants are different. So from there, you can tell them to draw. From there, those ones that maybe artistic, from there they draw, they see, and all that. Which I'm not saying that should be wiped off, no. But at least let's adopt it because he also said there are some children that learn through that. There are some children that when you stand in the class and you teach, they are very good. If you give them questions, they can answer you. But some, you see that they are struggling. Why? Because they are not learning through auditory alone. They want to see, they want to feel it, they want to touch. So that's what I'm saying.
So you're really saying that these multiple intelligences actually helps us to bring practice
Yes.
into
the classroom.
learning. Because if you are not practicing, you are not learning. And one of the multiple intelligences you mentioned, the one about intrapersonal learning, highlights the importance of reflection. You know, when you have taught this child how to do this, using your example about taking them to the field to practice, and they draw, in drawing different types of plants, they observe the differences, even the sameness. And then maybe in their own quiet time, without prompting, like you mentioned, they start to wonder, why are they different? Why are they, how do they behave if they are different and all of that? But that leads me to my question. How is it, and I'm putting you as educators on the spot, that you've had many products from your classroom, whatever subject it is that you taught. If you go back to that same A student who scored A when they were in your class, who scored straight A's in YA, and you go back to them and you say to them, what did you learn in school? Why did they find it difficult to answer? Because you've been using multiple intelligences.
Well, let me probably I should start from your last question before this. There's no way we are going to discard the whole practice. The only thing is to improve on what we have. So we just improve on it with what we learn, and we learn every day. No one knows it all.
Yeah.
We were not this knowledgeable probably about 30 years ago. But now these things are here now. We should be able to adapt to what is new. You should be able to use what is new. Because these learners that you are teaching, they are still going out there to meet those people who propounded this theories.
Yeah.
So they should be able to be at par with them. So whatever we can adopt to make sure that the message is passed across to them, the teacher should be able to
Actually
adopt that.
bringing learning from our own context to bear
Exactly.
learning.
Exactly. Well, it's not only secondary school students that I'm saying that probably after teaching them and they have graduated, you can call them to ask them what we taught them that they could remember. Even graduates, calling them. Because I would say the problem may not be teachers per se, may not be students per se, but the society that we find ourselves, that we only acknowledge paper qualification. That the only thing is that this student aspires, let that child have this job, let that one have this. That is what is, but it's something that they know that is going to be part of them after school. It will be there. Like we have some of them. And let me say this again. If we can adopt what we are discussing today about different intelligences, not teachers bearing at the back of their mind that the learners that they have in their classroom don't learn at the same rate and at the same pace, and they have individual differences. And each of these individual differences can be catered for. There's nothing you teach the students that they will never remember. I just told you about my biology teacher. I still remember some of the topics that he told us, looking at the way we were taught. Then we could not apply it. But now, we can apply those things. But another thing is, if we are teaching subjects that are practical oriented, you know, those things, those activities that you allow your learners to participate in, stick with them. These students forget all those things because what they were doing there was rote learning. You just teach them 1 + 1 is 1. You can't actually prove to them that this is the reason this is this. Once you can prove to them that you can cater for different intelligences in your classroom and you're able to reach every learner, there's no year you ask them what to tell them that they will not give it back to you because there's a place that they store it in their brain.
What's your opinion on that? Because this is a big indictment on teachers. For more than 30 years, we've been talking about full intelligence, but we still have a problem that you just highlighted.
One thing I want to say is, as teachers, we are building the creative ability of children. You know, remember in a class, we have doctor, we have an engineer, we have a lawyer, we have a business person. So when we have this in mind,
You have dancers too.
We have dancers, yeah, we have
Maybe
musicians.
Yes.
So we should have this in mind that whatever thing we are teaching them is to build them up and build their creative mind. Now let's take, for example, some years back, you see the Amoria tailoring shop. You see Mutil barbing shop. What makes the difference? If we can ask ourselves, it's because we now have graduates, they came into the same business and they changed the whole thing. Before, if you want to sew this in your gown, if you have 15 naira, but now you know what it takes. Why? Because some people are bringing creativity. So let's not forget that as teachers, we are not just building these children to go out and be somebody that is going out there to go and work. I used to tell my children, I said, see, you're going to school does not mean you have to be a doctor. There was even a time my daughter was telling me that she wants to go into fashion design. I said, no problem. It shows that my child is learning. We should know that learning is not just academics. And we need to get that right. Learning is not just academics. We are only going through academics so that your thinking will be different from someone that did not go to school at all. Now, what makes someone that went to school different from the other is because something has shaping your thinking, your orientation. I remember then my father is not educated, but he will tell us if you say you go to school and we see you on the way, peeing or fighting. So what makes the difference between you? So education is just, I used to tell my students, it's not just classroom learning alone. You come there to learn moral, you come there to learn a lot of things. So if we as educators, we should have this in mind, that it's not for them to just remember what we have taught them. It's building their creative mind. And we are not, I used to tell my children, my students, I am not training you to now go out there to look for a job. I am training you to be an employer of labor. So let's get that. The moment we start building this in the students, in our children, you will see that the whole thing will change. So that is why now you will not see any child and say, oh, this one is maybe Olodo, and this one is not important. I have a child when I was in Abuja. His name is Charles. When it comes to mathematics, Charles is not good at all. So the mother, parents, how we are. Oh, he doesn't know math. He's this. So because of the training been through and all that. So one day she came for open day and she was crying. I sat her down. I said, Mommy Charles, I said, just this boy, did you see the other aspect of him? Ma'am, when it comes to anything making research, oh my God, even things that you don't know exist, Charles knows. So when we started talking and she started saying this, encouraging him, and there was a day the Charles made a presentation. Oh my God, she was crying. She didn't know that child has that ability. And that's one thing I want us to know. We were trained that there's no zero child. We should know that every child has one hidden talent. And that's where this multiple intelligence comes out. Our own as teachers, as tutors, is to help them identify those hidden talents. Through the way we teach. If you teach a child, you introduce music, you use interpersonal, intrapersonal, using kinetics and all that. There are some children that don't know that they can even move their body. But by the time you are doing that as a teacher, you are teaching, you are doing all that, your class will not be boring. But what do we see today? Most teachers, just like he said, you just stand and you are teaching, you are just talking, you are wasting saliva. Because out of 10, 15, or let me say 20 students in your class, maybe only 5 are learning.
Yeah.
So
thank you so much for that.
Probably I should even add something to what she had just said, and probably is related to the other question. Music.
Yes.
Music. I've seen that music is actually distracting learners. All learners attend to listen to good music. I'm waiting for a day, or I wish that we have a musician that will take a topic in physics, that will take a topic in chemistry, and use it to sing.
And it's infinitely possible because it speaks to the creativity that you mentioned earlier. But I'll ask one last question before I yield it to our participants online. We've talked a lot about our students. We've talked a lot about what teachers should do. It brought to mind what my father said when my sister came home one year, many years ago, with complete failure at right. It was F9 parallel, as we used to call it then. My father was not, he wasn't angry. He just said they gave her the wrong exam. Because what this girl does is spend her time reading romance. If she had invested on romance, she would have come out with pass. So our examination syllabuses still test for logical thinking and for linguistic intelligence. How are we going to affect that? How do we prepare our children? Because we prepare them to pass the examinations, not just for life. How do you see this?
Okay, let me come in. I think it has to do with the government. Because we are only, through those questions, they are only training children for understanding. Now we have high level, higher order thinking and lower order thinking. And you know, all those things start from, I would still say, from lesson preparation. So let's take, for example, maybe in my school, we are using higher order thinking to teach our children. And you know, questions coming from there be creative, you know, that has to do with your creativity. Now, when some child writes level, what do you think will happen? So that's why I said where the government comes in. So I think we really need to, you know, work hand in hand with them. So when you see that when a child graduates from school, and maybe you go for job interviews, they don't ask you what is your name. They will tell us, introduce yourself. Now, by saying introduce yourself, we know what it means.
How are you?
Who are you?
Beyond the person that we see.
Beyond who you are, beyond Fumi Fadimine, who are you? But the schools, what are they doing? They are teaching them just for understanding. Understanding. And what is understanding? Teaching a subject. Explain. Define. And those are the questions. I've been going through the last level that was concluded yesterday. You know, I came from Abuja where we used those. When I newly came to Lagos, I was like, in fact, I was almost, don't let me say I was almost regretting it, but at least there is one thing or the other that they're learning. But the thing is, the government has to do something about this thing. So that when schools like Methodist Girls High School, Mind Builder School are training these children, you know, to bring out their creativity, to make them independent, think right, creative thinking, ability to think, you know, the right way, so that they can compete with other children. But when government bring questions like this, it's more like a contradiction. Yes. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Probably I should say something, probably add something to what she has said. I believe that the foundation matters.
Yes.
And that's why I give it to teachers taking primary and nursery schools.
Right.
If I'm the president of this country, the set of teachers that will be higher, those people that will be collecting higher salary will be nursery school teachers. Followed by primary, followed by secondary, the lecturers will be mispaid. The foundation is built from the primary, from the nursery and the primary. If the foundation is not solid, there's no need to build on. Yes, when we are talking about students being able to express themselves linguistically and logically, it starts from that level. Yes. Once we're able to get that foundation right, we have things to build on. That's that. We will stop having that problem now. If, like she said, the way our questions in terminal examinations are set, let it be application. Not what is your name. Look at how British Council send their question when it comes to IGCSE and when it comes to checkpoint exams. They are not direct questions. They are applications. That force you to think deeply before you write anything down. And that is why most of those people who you see Nigerians that go abroad to study, you see them coming out in flying colors. Yes. It's because they are in the right environment, they are being taught with the right tools, unlike us where everything we do is rote learning, rote teaching, and this is affecting the standard of education in this country.
We must give our participants time to ask questions if they have any. Participants, if you have any questions, please make your comments. We're listening to you, or you can raise your hand so that we can call on you.
Also, we are still waiting for that.
Yes, while we're waiting for them.
Yeah, I remember when I was in, I think I was in GS2 or GS3 when they taught us the elements. They use nitrogen, helium, lithium, barium. Till today, I'm not. Till today, I can remember there was a time the students, I was in the class because I'm a class teacher. The teacher came, I was writing it on the board for the student, and immediately I just called his attention. I said, I will never forget this thing. It is a song. And immediately he adopted it. Come and see the children. They were dancing. And up to
it makes it exciting. Yes. And research has
been 25 years ago, and the song is still there. So another person, it could be through other means. I remember there was a time too, my teacher was teaching us agriculture. He took us to the farm. And we were able to touch. We planted corn. We were weeding it. See today. And we don't forget some things. So if we have pleasure, the pleasant memory, seeing out in the opening, actually doing something that you've seen others do that you never had the opportunity to do. Research has demonstrated that to us actually, that memory is more than the brain. That memory is also stored in the body, which is why this kinesthetic thing is very, very important. Do we have questions from the floor? Yeah, but I can't read from here. My eyes are old. Forgive me. Yes, there's somebody has their hands up. Please unmute them so they can ask the question.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
As you ask your question, please introduce yourself so we know where you are. We're listening to you.
Okay. Good morning, Mrs. Akpojiovi. I hope I got that right. My name is.
Yes, you did.
My name is Mrs. Adeyinka Adefokwe. I'd just like the panel to talk to hand-brain memory, because these days we have a lot of people still advocating online learning and all of these things, and our children are not writing anymore. So a lot of them are even deficient in spellings and all of those things, and I'd like our educators to talk to that. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. I think I've been there. We have parents that will tell you there's no time. Just send the note to us. Send everything to us. They don't need to write. Just send to us. Sincerely speaking, I've been trained to understand that you read while writing. You read while writing. When I was in secondary school, I don't miss classes. I make sure I'm in the class. I make sure I write my notes. I don't read for exams. I'll enter the exam hall with what I was able to write and listen to while my teacher was teaching me. But the parents now don't want their children, they tell you that the world is we are the world of technology. Just let them listen. If you don't write, how do we improve your handwriting? If you don't write, how do we know that you know the spellings of some words? If you don't write, how do we know this? How do we know that? There are advantages and there are disadvantages. The only thing we need to do is to see how we can blend it. I give it to a parent in my school. He said, send it. I will make sure he writes at home when he's free. Because he equally believes that when that child is writing, he is equally reading. There are some things that, yes, there are some things we don't need to shy away from. There are some things that are new. You know, the other time we were talking about the old ways of doing things and the new one. We just have to improve on what we have. We don't need to just throw one away because we have a new one. Even before you throw that one away, look at it very well. Look at the new one. Let us try to strike a balance. It's for the benefit of the learners. And it's quite unfortunate that parents now advocate for how they were not taught when they were in school. That is where they want their children to be taught now. But the way you were taught was what brought you to where you are presently. But some parents are not even looking at that. What they are looking at is a new world, technology, they have iPad, they have this. Don't just send the notes. I know that writing note, I will tell you it wastes time. What time do they have to read? When we were doing that, there was no laptop, there was nothing, there was no interactive board. How were we able to read and make sure that we pass through our own time? That was the way we did it. That method is still there.
Yes, we have to abandon it.
Yes.
I think recently, Sweden, I don't know if Sweden withdrew laptops and tablets. Why do you think they did that? Because they found out that the children are not learning
Yes.
Now, first thing, we are going to look at the effects on this thing, even on the children. Number one, we see a lot of children are using glasses. Why? Because of the lights, the blue lights and all that. Hardly would you see in a class, at least in a class of 20, you will see 10 to 12.
Also, these children know this.
Then the thing is,
They're always on phone.
so when I was reading about reason why Sweden, withdrew, and even China, because they were saying, oh, China introduced this, now they are withdrawing it. But we that took it from them refused to let go. Now, because they are seeing the effects, the negative effects, just like they said. Whatever thing that looks so sweet has both the positive and the negative effect. Now, when it now comes to the parents, please, I want to encourage us, we educators, let's see our profession as a respectable profession. I used to tell myself, no parents can dictate to me. Because when they go to doctors, they don't tell doctors the kind of drug that the doctor should prescribe for them. If we know our onions, we should tell the parents the effect of that thing and reason why. Because I once taught in a school that the parents came and said, this is the book I want you to use. And I told her, no, this is the book the school is using. And what she told me was, because that's what the lesson teacher told us using. And I said, no, I won't take it. So she went to the management, she complained to them, and they were like, I should allow her. I said, no, I will not allow her. And the woman was like, she just started at school, and that was how I resigned. As teachers, we should know what we carry. We are mind builders. We are future builders. Whatever thing these children, foundation, even the Bible is so concerned about the foundation. And that's why he said, if the foundation be destroyed, what will the righteous do? The righteous will only be praying. So the foundation matters a lot. The foundation is the key. As tutors, we should not let them know. It's because they are ignorant. This is your job. It's your profession. You know the in and out of it. So sit them down. It's not in a rude or arrogant manner, but sit them down. let them know, madam, this child needs to write. If she doesn't write, they know. I have my in-laws son came to me. I think he's 6 years old, degree here. And I was telling the mom, I said, what's happening? By now, I've taught in the primary school before. I know how a child's grip. This place, there's a time of maturity that comes to it. So if a child of 6 years old cannot have a good grip of his or her pencil, there's something is wrong. So now, such parents, you want your child to just be walking on tap. Then what happens to the grip? Because that is a developmental stage that is still not yet developed and which has to be developed. So we need to tell them, as we are telling them, let's tell them the psychological effects of this too. There was a time when we newly came to Lagos, I enrolled my child in a school and they were using this, there were a lot of things that were wrong in that school. My son used a 10 and I started looking for another school until he started having issues because when you enter their class, it's as if you have entered the studio. And too much lights and all that. They were using a smart board, so many things. I was like, no. He was keep. And sometimes we get to, I have to withdraw all the tablets, change the school and all that. And once he sees book, he will start crying. The moment he sees book, he will start crying. So until we have to change it to a school, so let our parents know the psychological effects of all these things. They need to know. It's not they don't know. That's why they are telling us. And we should not say because, I don't want to lose a child in my school. It's better you lose that child and the child gets it right than retain that child. And
thank you very much. And thank you so much, Mrs. Bumi Fadimine and Prince Agbelu, for joining us this morning for this conversation. We do try at Upskill to make the things that we talk about, to bring it to light, make it relevant to the teachers we hope will join us at this time, and when we later put this, on YouTube, where they can watch what we have said. It's important for us, like you said, as teachers, to emphasize that teaching is a profession. It's also important for us to demonstrate cognitive excellence, as you have done this morning. Princes are not just for decoration. So thank you for joining us. And without any further questions, I would also like to thank our participants online for joining us, for taking the time out from this Workers' Day